Hi guys, this is Bison, your host, and today I am going to show you a god level game played by none other than Viswanathan Anand, the 5-time world chess champion, against India's youngest billionaire Nikhil Kamath, the founder of Zerota, and I am sure most of you have heard about that app. Now here's the crazy part. In this charity event organized to raise funds for COVID-19 relief held in year 2021, Nikhil Kamath, who claimed that he had only played chess in school, somehow managed to defeat Viswanathan Anand. Sounds shocking, right? Later, he was accused of cheating and his account was banned on chess.com. This game sparked a lot of controversy in the chess world. So now let's dive in and analyze that what's really happened on the board. Okay, so basically this game starts with knight to f3 and e5, and you can see that here Nikhil blundered on the first move because Vishy simply captured this pawn, and basically this is called Ross Gambit. The main idea behind this Ross Gambit is to create an unbalanced position early in the game, forcing black to make decisions and potentially makes mistakes, and that show that black is an amateur player. Okay, now d6 by Nikhil, which attacks this knight, and after this simply knight goes back to f3. And after this, Nikhil decides to develop his knight to c6, d4, okay, knight to f6, d5. Vishy attacks his knight, but simply knight goes to e5, okay. Now knight to c3, bishop to e7. Here you can see that black is preparing to castle, and after this Anand pushed d5, okay, sorry, e4, which creates a central pawn structure which is very solid, and after this black also castled. Okay, now bishop to e2. Vishy is also preparing to castle, but after this Nikhil finds an amazing move c6, and you can see that black is preparing for a pawn break, and that's the first moment where things start to get fishy, because it's next to impossible for an amateur player to find these kind of pawn breaks. And after this Vishy also castled. Okay, now takes a6. Clearly black wants to play b5 and then b4, targeting this knight. Now rook to e1, b5, okay, a3, stopping the move b4. Now h6, okay, knight to d4. Clearly you can see that Vishy wants to bring his bishop to f4, creating a strong position for this bishop. And now in this position the most natural move is bishop to b7, which targets this d5 pawn, which is a good move, but instead Nikhil goes for bishop to d7. This move is not an easy move for humans to find, because it keeps an eye towards this d7 diagonal, and it also prevents this knight from jumping to this f5 square. And this is the second move that raised out for many viewers. Okay, now bishop to f4, and after this black brings his rook to c8, taking control over this c file, and after this bishop to f3, okay, keeping an eye towards this d5 pawn, and after this Nikhil brings his queen to b6, preparing for rook to c4, targeting this knight as well as this bishop. And in this position Vishy decides to exchange the bishop with the knight, and after takes, and now it's better for white to just capture this pawn, but instead Anand goes for knight to c6, targeting this bishop, but Nikhil instantly brings out his bishop to c5, targeting this f2 pawn, and Vishy defends this with his queen and also targeting this e5 pawn, and Nikhil defends it with his rook by rook to e8. Now Anand simply captured this, and everything was fine till here, but in this position Nikhil sacrificed his rook by rook takes e5, a brilliant move by the youngest cheater, the youngest billionaire. This is because after takes, bishop takes f2 check, and obviously here white can't go to h1 square, because then black will simply play rook to e8, and white has to lose his queen. So that's why Anand decides to go to f1, and after this he grabbed this rook. Queen takes e1, and now comes the craziest move of this game, which can't even Magnus and Hikaru find. In this position, Nikhil finds the move b4. What a move! This is a top engine move which activates all the pieces of black. Here you can see that black wants to play bishop to b5. Yeah, so basically he wants to bring his bishop to b5 square so that he can attack this king. Okay, now Anand simply captured on b4. Queen takes b4, and you can see that black is threatening to take on b2, and Vishy defends it with his rook. But take a look at this evaluation bar. Black is still slightly better here. Just imagine Vishy is playing against an engine and still holding the position. That's exactly why he's called the legend of chess. Now Nikhil gives a check from his bishop. Now the best move is simply to slide his king, stepping out from any danger, but as I said, Vishy is a human and he is also playing multiple boards at the same time. So that's why he made a mistake by playing knight to e2. Okay, so this move is a mistake because now black can simply capture this knight on by this yeah, so basically he's simply captured this by bishop takes e2, and if suppose queen takes, then black will simply bring his rook to e8, and you can see that this game is over for white. And if suppose bishop takes e2, then queen to f4 check, queen to f2, queen to c1 check, queen to e1, queen takes c2, rook takes a6, knight takes d5, threatening to play knight to e3 check. Yeah, so clearly you can see that black is winning here, but in the actual game, after this move knight to e2, Nikhil didn't play this move because he thought that if I play all the engine moves, I might get caught. So he intentionally played an incorrect move, queen to d6, and now Vishy just slide his king, but that's not a good move. Instead of sliding his king, here he must consider the move b3, just defending this pawn. And here suppose if knight takes d5, then black can actually capture this, and after this black can takes with a check, queen takes e2, queen takes d5, rook takes a6, queen to f5 check, giving threatening this king as well as targeting this pawn. And after this queen moves, simply queen takes c2, and now you can see that this game is completely equal. But in the actual game, after this move king to g1, Nikhil simply grabbed a free pawn. Okay, now knight to c3, a good move by Vishy, targeting this bishop as well as cutting the file for this rook. Now Nikhil brings back his bishop to d7, and he is preparing for a very nasty idea. Here Vishy brings his queen to e3, and in this position Nikhil finds a crazy move, which is bishop to g4. He sacrificed his bishop, and I swear Magnus, Hikaru, no one can find this move. This is because after takes, knight takes g4, attacking this queen, as well as this queen is also threatening to capture this h2 pawn. And after this, Vishy gives a check from e8 square, king to h7, queen to e4 check, and I know that 99% of the chess player will defend this check from his queen. And suppose if this happens, yeah, suppose if queen to g6, now in this position all the advantage of black will be gone, and this position will become completely equal because white will simply exchange the queen first and simply play rook to a1, stopping the move rook to c1 check. And if suppose black captured this pawn, simply d6, and clearly you can see that this position is completely equal. But instead of queen to g6, queen to e4 check. Okay, yeah, so instead of this move, after the move the queen to e4 check, you might be shocked that Nikhil actually sees this all variation and he decides to sacrifice his knight by playing g6, and you can see that he sacrificed his knight as well as this rook. Okay, so suppose if white captured this rook by queen takes c2, now comes queen takes h2 check, king to f1, knight to e3 check. Imagine finding this level of tactics against Vishy. Wow. And suppose after, so let's go back to our move g6. Suppose after this move, here if Vishy captured this knight, which he actually did in the game, then queen to c5 check, king to h1, rook to c1 check, knight to d1, and after this queen takes d5, and you can see that no one can defend this knight. At this point, Nikhil is burning a lot of time. He is down to just 2 seconds on the clock, but right here Viswanathan Anand finds a god level move and he resigned the game despite of having a huge time advantage. With that one move, a major cheater is exposed. That's why we called him the legend of chess. But honestly, I still didn't understand that why someone would do this all. What he's getting from these. If you have an answer, then please let me know in the comments. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.